At least 6 people have been killed and 16 injured in the Saltivka district in the major Ukrainian city of Kharkiv, following a shelling attack by Russia on Wednesday, according to Al Jazeera. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the attack, describing it as a result of a rocket, and said the building targeted has been completely destroyed. A vile and cynical attack on civilians that has no justification and demonstrates the powerlessness of the aggressor. We will not forgive, we will take revenge, Zelensky said in a Telegram post. Also known as Ukraine's second city, the predominantly Russian-speaking Kharkiv was a major strategic goal for Russia's occupation efforts, but Ukrainian forces were considered the victors of the battle for control of the city after fighting receded in May. In other developments, the American political scientist, international relations expert, distinguished professor at the University of Chicago, and realist thinker John Mearsheimer was the subject of debate since Wednesday, due to a piece he wrote for Foreign Affairs magazine. Titled Playing with Fire, the Underappreciated Risks of Catastrophic Escalation, Mearsheimer's piece labels the United States and its allies as being too cavalier on the issue of escalating intervention in the Russia-Ukraine war, because in his view, the consequences of escalation could include a major war in Europe and possibly even nuclear annihilation. According to Mearsheimer, Russia's territorial goals expanded markedly since the start of the invasion, with the previous aim of upholding the Minsk II agreement shifting to one of annexation and turning Ukraine into a dysfunctional rump state. As such, the perceived threat to Russia is more heightened than it was prior to 24th February, because Ukraine, and in turn its allies like the US and NATO, are determined to recapture the territory lost to Russia and permanently cripple Russian power. Given that Ukraine and its allies will not now accept a neutral Ukraine, and Russia cannot afford to give up annexed territories easily, Mearsheimer believes that the path ahead is not one of a bloody stalemate, but one of catastrophic escalation. To support his position, Mearsheimer lays out 3 routes to this escalation. Quote, one or both sides deliberately escalate to win, one or both sides deliberately escalate to prevent defeat, or the fighting escalates not by deliberate choice but inadvertently. Mearsheimer further gets into the details with which these routes may happen, using American assistance of Ukraine via HIMARS, Slovakia sending MiG-29 jets, and European allies' training of Ukrainian forces as examples, as well as the possibility of the volatile situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant being a route to escalation. In the third scenario, the war settles into a protracted stalemate that has no diplomatic solution and becomes exceedingly costly for Moscow. Desperate to end the conflict on favorable terms, Putin might pursue nuclear escalation to win. As with the previous scenario where he escalates to avoid defeat, US nuclear retaliation would be highly unlikely. In both scenarios, Russia is likely to use tactical nuclear weapons against a small set of military targets, at least initially. It could strike towns and cities in later attacks if necessary. Gaining a military advantage would be one aim of this strategy, but more important one would be to deal a game-changing blow, to create such fear in the West that the United States and its allies move quickly to end the conflict on terms favorable to Moscow, Mearsheimer added. Mearsheimer's descriptive speculation over these routes ultimately serves his conclusion that the risks of escalation create a powerful incentive to find solutions to the war through diplomatic routes, while claiming that it is too late to strike a deal, which the Biden administration should have been on top of before 24th February. Mearsheimer's piece received intense criticism from supporters of Ukraine, the US, and NATO, who labeled him as an apologist for Russia and accused him of downplaying and misrepresenting Russia's goals with the invasion. This is not the first time Mearsheimer has been at the center of controversy for going against the grain in the West, putting forward his realist perspective towards international conflicts, particularly involving Russia. In 2014, following the annexation of Crimea and the war in Donbass, Mearsheimer wrote a piece for Foreign Affairs titled "Why the Ukraine Crisis is the West's Fault: The Liberal Delusions That Provoked Putin." That piece was reshared on Twitter by Russia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs on 28th February this year, 4 days after the start of the war. For ThePrint, this is Raghav Bikhchandani. For more, log on to theprint.in and follow us on social media.